Week 1's almost in the books. We got one more game to go, but we had a big matchup last night. Ravens and Bills scoring a lot of points. A lot of players going off. One wide receiver that went off in that game was Keon Coleman. He blew up last night. Everybody's looking at him. In some leagues, he might be on the waiver wire. A lot of leagues, he's rostered. But a lot of you guys are wondering, is this the blow up of Keon Coleman? We're going to take a look at the advanced analytics, the data, and see what he's about. The good, the bad, the ugly, everything in this deep dive. Before we dig in, you need to click that subscribe button right now. We're doing deep dives every day, all day long. On top of that, we're looking deep at the waiver wire. We already got a video out on that. Take a look at that. I will have much more, and we're going to help you set your lineups with rankings. We're looking at the matchups every week, and on top of that, we're doing player battles. Click that button. Stop missing up. But Keon Coleman is looking good so far. 25.2 PPR fantasy points, catching 8 balls, 112 yards, a touchdown, 11 targets. This was his big debut for 2025. And this is a wide receiver that could be on the upswing on a very explosive offense. You're looking at what he did in college. He broke out at Michigan State, then did well at Florida State, and was one of the top prospects in a very decorated wide receiver class last year. Scored 11 touchdowns instantly at Florida State. He transferred from one school to another and was able to produce, get on the field, and be a big-time playmaker for the Seminoles. He goes in the second round of the 2024 NFL Draft, but at 201. So technically, very close to being a first-round pick. This was a very deep, talented wide receiver class. If he was in another draft class, he probably would have got drafted in the first round due to economics. 6'3", 213, good size adjusted athleticism, good catch radius. That size stands out. His ball skills on tape when you look at what he did at Florida State. Michigan State, that stands out. You look at what he did last year as a rookie, it was up and down. It was up and down. It really depends on how you look at the numbers. It was a slow ramp up, as you saw last year, but you also saw some things here that's very encouraging. We have multiple games of over 5 targets, a game with 10 targets, 3 games with 7 targets. We averaged 4.4 targets on the season, but the air yards. We had multiple games of over 80 or pushing 80. We had one with 188. There were some games where we were getting deep targets on the field, and that's indicative to what we saw last night. Targets, 57 on the season, 75th among wide receivers, 15.5% target share, 64th among wide receivers. However, 18 deep balls on the year, and you saw we missed a bunch of games there. A bunch of games where we weren't getting fantasy points or targets, but still 25th among wide receivers with 18 deep balls. 18 deep shots downfield. Average depth of target, 15.2, 8th among wide receivers. That's a number you want to pay attention to, because if that target share ramps up, as we're seeing it already doing in week 1, that could be a big-time playmaker in fantasy football. At the very least, if you see him hover around a 17% target share to 15%, you're going to get a volatile wide receiver with some good splash weeks. And the routes ran. It's very encouraging, a 77% route participation rate. Sure, 61st among wide receivers, but that's up there. That's pushing 80. That's good for a rookie. A rookie being out there running 23.7 routes per game. That's solid work. That's a good indicator that you had a young wide receiver last year that was getting on the field, getting reps. You're worried if he's not running routes. That's when you're really worried. He did not make a lot of plays, but he also had some moments last year where it was kind of encouraging. You look at the snap counts. Very encouraging here. 75 snaps on 85 snaps on the team. 50 routes ran on 53 routes ran with the team. A nasty route participation rate in the 90-some percentile range. 11 targets, leading the team in targets. High volume game. A lot of plays ran, and we're always out there. That's an encouraging thing to predict for the future, that he's going to be out there running a lot of routes, playing a lot of snaps, getting a lot of opportunity. We're going to see him make plays downfield. We're seeing that with Keon Coleman. You're looking at the depth chart here. Josh Palmer, Khalil Shakur, Elijah Moore was out there. Curtis Samuel was not. And then you see Gabe Davis picture down there. We'll get to that and the correlation in a second. But the receiving game, he led all wide receivers, 112 yards, 1 touchdown. Khalil Shakur, Joshua Palmer each got 9 targets. So we're going to see a carousel effect here because both those 2 wide receivers are going to get volume in the passing game. They're going to get opportunity, especially in these big matchups. So any wide receiver in this offense has the potential to get it. We do have 1 game of sample size here, but that is a clue to what we could be potentially seeing going forward this year. And Shakir led the team in targets last year. Keon Coleman was a rookie last year. He missed some time, got 57 targets. Target share was 16%. ADOT 15.2 downfield. 864 air yards, 57 targets. Well, Shakir only had 548 air yards on 99 targets. And air yards is the travel distance while the ball is in the air. And when the ball is deeper in the air to the wide receiver, more likely if that wide receiver brings in that play, they're scoring a lot of fantasy points. So more deep shots, the better. The more opportunity to score big plays. Keon Coleman has that in his prospect profile. Matt Collins is gone. Got a 13 ADOT, and you look at the other wide receivers on the depth chart, there's not really anybody that's going to match that, and you got Keon Coleman running on 90% of the routes. He's going to be deep ball city, and also Josh Allen is deep ball city. Last year, number 2 on money throws, 24 of them. Air yards per attempt, 11th among quarterbacks. 11th, though, but 2nd in deep ball attempts, 75, 4.4 a game. And who's going to be getting the deep ball? It's going to be Keon. And pass attempts, 14th. So 14th in pass attempts, but 2nd in deep ball attempts. He pushes it downfield, and we know this. He'll load up. He'll hero ball it. Sling it down there. We've seen this before. We've seen other wide receivers cash with him before. Khalil Shakur is a good wide receiver. He's good to have on your fantasy team. He's going to be seeing targets. He's going to be racking up production, especially in certain matchups. I think we're going to see the carousel effect. When any wide receiver like Josh Palmer could be scoring as well, he might be a little bit lighter compared to the other 2 wide receivers, but in certain matchups where they got to be creative, he's going to be getting volume, and he still got volume in this game. And he was looking good in preseason, training camp with the team. The beat writers were dropping a lot of buzz about him. Gabe Davis and the correlation play. When I think about the deep balls, when I think about the opportunity, game scripts, and the other wide receivers getting targets, when you look at the chart from 2022 and 2023, as you see the spike weeks and the down weeks, I think that's what you're going to get out of Keon Coleman this year, which is a good ramp up from last year. And I think as he develops and acclimates, it's going to start getting more consistent. He's a better wide receiver than Gabe Davis. I think going into next year, later this year, it'll start being more consistent. I think we are starting to see the glow up of Keon Coleman with how this offense is made and how it's ran. In some of these game scripts, he might give you less than 10 PPR fantasy points. It's in the range of outcomes when you're a deep ball dandy like him, because you could get overshot on those passes. It could get broken up. Anything could happen. Pass interference calls, things outside of even his control that could impact those targets. They're harder targets to make. But when you make those targets downfield, there's just more fantasy points. It could be for touchdowns, 1 catch for 60 yards. That's 1 play with 7 fantasy points. You catch a couple balls on top of that. And if you got a touch, that's a big night. That's a big night. And now you're looking at the Gabe Davis effect, which is the Will Fuller effect right here, where you're getting blow-up weeks, some low ball weeks, and you either hate it or you love it. I love it. I love it because I know on any given Sunday, if I'm hurting on my roster spot, I got a wide receiver here in Keon Coleman or whoever the Will Fuller effect player is. I throw him in, I close my eyes, and there's a chance I score 20, 25, 30 like we saw last night with Keon Coleman. Or I might get 9, 6, 5. But that 9, 6, 5, that bust week, is only a few more points than those waiver wire dandies who just got you a 10, 11, 12 spot that you felt good about. So why not shoot for that upside in those moments where you're hurting? And when you're looking at the schedule, there's some down games and there's some games where they got to be creative. And that makes sense when I think about the volatility. Like the Chiefs game, maybe the Jets game, even though that blew up. That could be different. The Dolphins game, he might be a must start. You got that Patriots game right there. That could be a nasty matchup. Could be a slow pace. You got Dolphins again. You got the Bucks. You got a fun schedule here for Keon Coleman. You got the Falcons. You got the Panthers who ooze fantasy points. My goodness, this is a good schedule. Like, you got the Chiefs game, but you look away from that, you got a nice schedule. And he gets so many deep balls, even in these rough matchups. He brings in 1 to 2. That could be still a good performance. On top of that, even in good matchups, if he gets overshot on 1 or 2 of those deep balls, couple pass interference calls, great for football, not great for fantasy. That could hurt him in the stat sheet. That's why I see volatility. But I could also see a huge ascension this year due to these matchups. And there's more good ones in the back half of the season. He's a big game player. He's a big game player with a lot of upside. That's why you need him. That's why you want him. You don't want the ups and downs. Like, you're not going to know when to start him sometimes. He might make you pull your hair out. He's going to have 3 to 5 more blow-up weeks. Could be more. Doubtfully less. It's probably 3 to 5. That's the safe range. It could be 6 to 7. I look for him to have a big season in that way. It's going to be a big season compared to last year. If it is the 3 to 5 more games, a big-time wide receiver 1 production, 20, 25, 30-plus fantasy points. But those down games in between, where they can't connect on the deep ball, that's going to cause you to scratch your head, pull your hair out, and it could be a run of like 2 to 3 good games, then 3 to 4 to 5 bad games, and then you think about dropping him, and then all of a sudden he starts hitting again. It could be something like that, or he hits for 1 game, doesn't for 3 games, then hits for 3 games, and you're like, what am I doing here? But I got all this production, I don't know when to use it. It could be like that for you. But I believe he's going to end up being consistent to a point where he gives you a little bit more, and that could start happening later on in the season. And you got the matchups here that we're seeing in the future that could fuel that, because this is a big play wide receiver, talent-wise, draft capital-wise, should emerge on this roster here. We're seeing that, and we're starting to see that right now. Keon Coleman, I've been saying this all along. This ain't a new take because of yesterday. I've been saying he's either going to get you 5 or 25. 5 or 25. And honestly, the one take I should have had was like, oh, you like T. Higgins? You like George Pickens? Why don't you like Keon Coleman here at this round 13 price? Because you're going to get something similar when it comes to boom-bust scenarios. And it's a lot cheaper. And it's something to think about and chew on. That's what I should have said. Because overall, I was right in the process, but I was wrong in telling you why to go in on the process according to the context of the value. I apologize for that. We were in on him, but I should have been stronger. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I want to hear about that. Make sure you hit that subscribe button on the way out. One thing for watching. Catch you on the next video.